Hi, everyone. So we've all heard the concept that grief is like the ocean. It kind of like hits you, the waves kind of hit you randomly or whatever. And even in the Rising Strong work that I do based on the research of Brene Brown that I do with my clients in my intensives, she talks about in one of the videos how like some days the wave of grief hits you and you ride the wave and it feels pretty good. And then other days the wave just comes crashing over you and you lose your shit. Because that's just how grief works. Well, a week or so ago, I was working with a client whose her grief is a lot different than mine. Because you see, I think we're all in grief because I'm not sure anyone's life has ever turned out the way that they hoped, dreamed, and planned. For me, obviously, it's infertility and living a child-full life without my babies here on earth. That is my grief. For my patient, her grief is really a lot different. And we were like talking in session and she's really struggling with some of the waves of grief that are hitting her through this process. And for her, one of her big things is to kind of rage against it and go into rage, especially with the people that she loves most. And I told her, and I said, here's the deal. You can jump off of that surfboard when the wave of grief hits you, and you can pick up the surfboard and try to bash the hell out of that wave. It's still going to win because it's grief. And that's how this works. Grief is hard, and what I am learning is that it lasts a lifetime. And so as we kind of talked through this concept, I was like, I got to write this down, which my clients are used to that at this point. I have to write that down on a Post-it because I think that's a really good concept. So what I've been thinking about is that yes, grief is like the ocean and the waves are going to hit you. And when we are really struggling to stand in our sacred truth and our light and the work and our wholehearted work, there are going to be times that the wave just seems way too big and we jump off the board. We jump off the surfboard because we feel like that's our only option. But the thing is like when we jump off the surfboard and we avoid and we numb our lives away, the wave still knocks the crap out of us. Or then there's some of us, like my client, who says, screw this, and picks up that surfboard and tries to beat the wave down with it. Either way, we're still beat down by the wave of grief. And both ways of responding to it don't honor our truth or our story of grief. And so I guess what I'm learning is that, especially in the Rising Strong process, because we talk about how identify the emotion, take a breath, be mindful, give yourself permission to struggle, and then really choose to get curious about it and to rumble with the emotions that you are feeling so that you can become the author of your life. And so when that wave of grief hits, I don't want to jump off of the surfboard because the wave wins, and that doesn't honor my story. It sure as hell doesn't honor my babies. I also don't want to pick up the surfboard and bash the wave because that just makes me feel even worse and also doesn't honor my truth. And so I'm going to ride the damn wave. I'm going to breathe through it. I'm going to talk through it. I'm going to reach out for help. I'm going to write. I'm going to do all of the self-care things that I teach everybody, and we're going to ride the wave of grief because that's just how grief works. But then today, when I was getting ready and listening to my morning playlist, I even thought that grief is like negotiating with a 3-year-old. I've written that blog post before, which means that we're not always going to feel like we have the bearings within us to stand and stay on that surfboard. And so those times that we do jump off, and the wave bashes us down, or the times that we pick up the surfboard and we bash the wave. Bottom line, we're going to get our ass kicked by the wave. But if we remember and trust, we just have to stand up because his hands are underneath us. His grace, his mercy, his love, and his light for our story, even on the days that I hate it and I want to curse it, are a firm foundation for me to stand in my sacred truth, shine my light into the world, and honor myself and my babies. So no matter what your grief is, I don't care if it's a lost job, a divorce, infertility, a lost dream, your motherhood doesn't look quite like it was supposed to, your marriage doesn't look like you had planned, whatever it might be. It's called grief. And you have to rumble with it. You have to get curious about how it feels and all of those emotions that comes with it, like anxiety and frustration and vulnerability and loss. My grief process includes having to reorient my life to living here on earth without my children and never fitting in anywhere I go as a woman without kids. My grief means that I have the yearning for them. My grief means I have to define my own happy ending because life didn't turn out the way I had hoped, dreamed, planned, and even paid for. And yours probably hasn't either. So, ride the surfboard. Take a breath, be mindful, breathe, practice self-care, and ride the surfboard. And in those moments that you can't, remember, He's got her back. The universe has your back, whatever. For me, it's Jesus. He has my back, and I can stand on the firm foundation of His grace, love, and mercy, the hands that hold me up. His hands that hold me up. Hopefully this makes sense. Have a good Thursday.